Okay, we're back doing some more upgrades to the FJ62 with the 3FE engine. So let's get to it. Gonna start removing this stuff. I'm gonna explain some more detail about this next, but a lot of this stuff gets removed. We're gonna have more space. It's gonna breathe better. Should get a little more power, and possibly even very slightly better gas mileage. Just so they say. We'll see. Alright, here's the Bible. It's the official repair manual from 1989, printed in Japan. If you don't have one of these, I would highly recommend it. So on this Desmog, we're going to remove this hose, all of this here. We're going to remove that, removing the smog pump, as well as this VSV, all of this, all of these hoses. And we're going to remove this line as well. We're going to be plugging this one. We're going to plug here at the air filter, and then we're going to plug some of these where these hoses were in here. So we'll get to that here in the video. Here's a partial kit for this Desmog. I got this online from TLC Performance. I'll put a link in the description. And a few more things that you're going to need. I'm going to go straight to these parts since we're talking about these. The high temp thread sealant. So I'm going to use it both on this one. You might not have to put it on this one, but definitely these, because these are going near the valve cover, sort of into the block area, so it's hot there. The Allen key for this one is a 6 mil, and the Allen key for this one is a 14. So I just got this one at O'Reilly's. It was 3-pack for like 11 bucks or something. You're gonna need a little wire brush. Most likely mine is old, you know, well, they're all old, but I know mine's never been changed out, and I know it's gonna be, you know, a little corroded in there, so a little brush won't hurt. You're gonna need these vacuum caps. And these are optional if you're going to go ahead and replace your valve cover gasket. Go and pick up some, you know, gray gasket. You might use a little bit, just not a lot, just a little bit to help it kind of form on there. And a PCV valve, because why not? It's like $2.50. So from the book to the real thing here, this line from your air intake, we're going to plug this, so this line gets removed. Basically everything you see here is getting removed. These two hoses, this line, that's where that big plug goes. This is going to be gone. These hoses, so we're going to be plugging up here. And we'll go ahead and get started on that, and then move over to the valve cover gasket and throttle body area. Excuse me. And I'm also going to do a separate video on cleaning up this throttle body and new gasket. Those 4 ports behind this valve cover gasket. So I'm gonna spray some of those with some PV Blaster right now. Looks like we got a hornet's nest down there too. Anyway, we're gonna spray those, let it soak. And what I mean by those are these. 1, 2, 3, and 4 farther down. We're also going to spray this, which I already have. So here we go. Okay, we've removed the line from the smog pump to the air filter, put that plug on, that rubber plug, and then I just went ahead and put the clamp back on it because why not? So that thing's nice and snug. I have all of these hoses all loose now, so everything's loose from that smog pump, and got all these off here. Now I just have a 12 mil, and that way I can remove this. Really simple bolts here. Okay, got all the bolts off. This is gone. This is gone. Look at that beast of a piece. Feels like a can of nothing. Look at all this space. You could put all kinds of cool stuff here. I mean, I was thinking ARB air compressor possibly with a, you know, shield to keep it clean. You could put a second battery here. You do all kinds of stuff. So next step, I'm gonna work on getting this off. See if I can break that loose. And yeah. I think the best thing to do to get this loose is to go ahead and remove the smog pump so we can get a big crescent wrench in there, pry it down. Look at all that space. See how huge the belt is now, so the belt's actually going to be a lot smaller, but we'll get to that later. Y'all aren't going to believe this, but mine was loose. I didn't really need to put any pressure with my large crescent wrench. It just was already broken loose. I don't know why. That's off, so we'll remove this next and we can take off this whole contraption here. To remove this, it's 1, 2, and 3 bolts. They're 12 mil. Most everything has been 12 mil so far, as far as these bolts go. I got those 3 out, but don't forget about this one down here. It's also 12 mil. This one was actually tighter than this one, but I didn't notice that before. So make sure y'all spray that one with PV Blaster as well. It's exciting watching me wrench, right? This is why I don't want to put these in my videos, because a lot of videos I see online, a lot of time is wasted just watching people loosen up a bolt or something. I don't really understand the purpose. But anyway, back to it. Okay, got that loose. Let's pull it off. Wow. Something fell. Make sure we get that later. I need 2 hands for this, but you can see there's a lot of mess in there. And that's the piece I was talking about, where we're gonna have to block this off with a piece of custom sheet metal, so we can block that port there. Look at that mess. Look at all this stuff so far. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 pieces of space that we are gaining. Pretty sweet. Now this has been the most difficult part of the whole thing so far, which it isn't difficult, but as you can see with a wrench, there's really not space. I didn't have space to really wrench down on anything. That's already hitting the alternator bracket. So what I'm going to do is get out the big boy impact driver, and you got a 1 1/4 bit. Fits perfectly. That wasn't bad at all. Wasn't seized or anything. Here's that big plug. I'm just gonna put it in there lightly for now, so it's just there. But we'll tend to that later. Next up is removing the intake piece. Oh, tripped on my ladder. So we're gonna remove this so we can access those 4 ports that connect to this. They went to the smog pump, so we're going to get this out of the way and these hoses, so that be a lot more space to work with. Next, we're taking this off. So as I was showing you before, this is connected. All of these ports. There's 2 there and 2 over there. It's good to clean the gunk out of there. If I can focus, there we go. This thing's in the way. Clean the gunk out of there. You know, use your shop vac. I'm gonna loosen these up and then see if I can break up some of that hard, gunky stuff in there. Vacuum it out again, and should be able to remove those little injectors. So all it is 17 mil. And these will screw on out. Okay, already got this thing loose. Really, it wasn't bad at all. They weren't hard to crack loose, and 3 out of the 4 of them I was able to finish them off by hand, just by pushing my finger against it. It was loose enough, so this whole thing should come out now. I'll go ahead and take this out. Okay, y'all, I got it out. I pulled it out, jimmied it out this way towards the front of the vehicle. This last part, it was kind of like this. Whoops, sorry, my hand. These were behind this little bracket. I just had to pull on it a little bit. This bends. The only other part, wait, let's throw this in the pile. The only other part I had to take out was this, which I'm not sure what this is for. Maybe y'all can tell me. I thought the bolts are really small. So, but anyway, really simple to get out. Just pulled that out of the way and it cleared the way. So basically what I'm trying to do here is do this job without having to remove the valve cover gasket. Everything I've looked up on the forums, YouTube, they take this off, and I don't want to take this off. I'm sure most of you don't either. It's a whole nother job. If it's not leaking, I'm not going to mess with it right now. And even if you take this off, you still have to use a regular wrench to get that manifold off. You can't fit a ratchet in there, and if I can fit my hand in there, then I can fit hopefully an Allen key in here. It's also a good time to clean your throttle body a little bit while you have everything off. Mine was completely gunked up. I'm going to make a separate video of removing the entire throttle body. I have a throttle position, sensor I'm going to replace with it, gasket and everything, but that's for another day. But anyway, let's move on to the next step here, which is getting those, and I don't know the official term for these, maybe some kind of air injection port, but those 4 come out, and that's where we put those 4 small plugs in from our kit. I have a bunch of gunk in there now from, not gunk, excuse me, junk. That's where these go. So let's get to it. Okay, we got the first one out. Pretty much the same thing as when we were taking out the manifold piece. Get it to focus here. Here's my shot back. I'm going to use the pointer, but that's where it came out of. And it had a bunch of gunked up stuff on there. I just used a screwdriver to loosen it up as I went. So what I did was got the stuff off the front, turned it 180 degrees, and it pulled out the stuff from the back side. I was able to chip that away and vacuum it from the front, and that seemed to work pretty well. I didn't have anything fall in the hole there. So we're gonna get the last 3 out and then put our plugs in. And I almost forgot to tell you the tools. So still 17 mil, and the ratchet does fit on these for the most part until you almost get it out. I have a 17 regular wrench, but if you have a ratcheting wrench, that would be perfect to finish it off. It wouldn't take long at all to get these things out. There we go. Turning it. So that's the back side coming up to the front. Now I'm going to clean that black stuff off. Alright, so we're getting ready to put these plugs in. Just make sure you have a thinner ratchet. I don't think I mentioned that before, but if you get a bulky ratchet, you're probably going to have a little bit of trouble. So that's the old injector things. Plugs, high temp seal there. So the 6mm Allen key is not quite tight, so my little trick is to put a piece of electrical tape on the end of the Allen key, and it is nice and firm in there. That way when we bend over, you know, at that awkward angle, we can easily just drop it in. You can call it a controlled drop in. So I just want to prove, you know, to everyone that you can do this without removing the valve cover. You can still access everything in here. You can still access everything from the side, and new PCV valve as well. So we'll swap that out. But again, I just want to let y'all know, you know, if you have done your valve cover and you know it doesn't need to be changed to get the gasket, you don't have to remove it. You can do this. So let's get to it. So the first one going in. The trick was, and of course it'd be easier if the valve cover wasn't here, but you can still do it. I use both my hands to kind of, you know, hold the Allen key on steady, and I was able to kind of, you know, just get the threads in and get a few threads locked in there enough where I could put the ratchet on. So we're good to go. So let me show y'all what I mean by that. I've got the Allen key in there already, so I'm putting both my hands in on either side of this Allen key I have with the thread, you know, locked on there, and just work it in there just like that, you know. It's like you're making a fire. So let's see if you can see this in there. Got it in place enough where I can fit the ratchet on there and tighten her down. But keep in mind these let me show you. So keep in mind when you're putting these plugs in that the old part, the threads come to a stopping point, but with the plug it doesn't have that. It'll just keep going. So if you keep ratcheting it down and wondering why it's not getting tight, that's the reason. So you need to keep an eye on when the top of this plug gets about to the top of the opening. Let me show you what I have here. So just like that, you see the plug is in fully, and I stopped right there when it's flush with the top of the opening. Well, here's proof that you don't have to remove the valve cover if you don't want to. Just got the fourth one in. See it right there. There you have it. Look at all this space. So I'm finalizing the plug, and instead of using the high temp thread locker, I decided to just use some anti-seize. And also this copper ring was one of the parts I was not sure about at the beginning, but it fits this perfectly, and when I tightened it down initially I noticed there was a small gap left over, so I'm assuming that once this is tightened down, it'll compress a little bit and fit perfectly in there. So that's all we're doing there. It did require some wire brush cleaning. Simple enough. Just going to tighten this down nice and snug. Don't need to wrench it down extremely tight. Just get it good and snug, and that should be plenty. Alright, so we've removed a lot of parts, and I just want to return us back to the blueprint so we can all be on the same page here. So the first line we removed is from the air intake, which was this one, down to the ASV. All those hoses are removed. Silencer is gone. The smog pump is gone. Next we did the EGR. So I guess some people refer to this as an EGR delete. And that's the port that went into the throttle body that was all gunked up. It's connected to these canisters here, and also connected to the exhaust manifold with that big nut and plug. We also removed the manifold with the injectors and plugged those, which was under this throttle body. And I did mine without removing the valve cover gasket. So you can do this without removing the valve cover gasket. I'm going to save that for a later day because I'm going to remove my throttle body and clean it, new gasket, plus the valve cover gasket on the same day. So I'll make some separate videos on that here shortly. I believe the final portion we need to remove is this VSV, which has a couple of electrical connectors there. All you do is disconnect the plugs and this gets thrown away. All the hoses get thrown away, and we're going to plug all of these metal hoses here. I believe it's 7 of them. Once we do that, we'll just install the smaller V-belt, and I actually have a new fan clutch I'm going to install as well. After we do that, it should be everything and good to go. I hope this helps. Okay, it's time to finish up the EGR port into the throttle body. So all my research I've seen guys having like a stainless steel shop or fabrication shop make a custom bracket to bolt on here, these 2 bolts, and cover this port. But thankfully for TLC performance, they included this plug, and all we do is place it in there and lightly tap it in with a hammer until it's flush. That's all we got to do, guys. I didn't realize it in the beginning, and I went back to TLC Performance's website, reviewed their pictures, and they had a picture of this. So huge shout out to them and their shop. I'm sure they have a really nice shop with their rebuilds and all. But I'll be sure to put a link in the description to order from them. One more little thing that I'm going to do is put all these 3 bolts back into place with some anti-seize, just because I don't like the fact of there, being a hole there and allowing debris to enter, or corrosion. I just don't want that. Whether this gets resmogged one day or not, I just think this is a better option, but to each his own. Alright, so this is the VSV, and I've undone all the hoses from all these ports, so all 7 of them have been capped off. The final stage of this is to disconnect these plugs, and they'll just stay in here in the fender well. They're not going to be in use anymore, and we can remove all of this junk. Okay, final stages. We're putting everything back together. We've got the air intake and all that back together. Put a new PCV valve in. Put this, I guess this is some kind of hoist for whatever. Maybe y'all can tell me what this is for. But I did the same thing with the 2 bolts for that. Cleaned the bolts up, anti-seize. Same with these 2. That was holding one of the hoses to this Smog system here. Put those back in. I just don't like any holes. VSV all removed. These are the 2 plugs. I'll probably throw some dielectric grease in there, you know, and tape them off or something, just to tie them down to the side. I left the bracket here because my thoughts on this, I mean, if you put a piece of sheet metal on top of this, you could use the bolts that it already has here to mount pretty much anything you want. This is just my opinion. I thought I'd throw it out there. We've got all of our hoses plugged, as you know, and I've got this little plug flush on there. Took a few taps with a hammer, no problem. Last step will be the belt, and then we'll fire it up. Here you have it, the Gates TR22525. That's the belt, the smaller belt we're using. And there's also a Dayco number for this. I'll put both of these product names and numbers in the description. And this belt was about 46 bucks. And for those of you who have not removed a belt on one of these, it's not hard. The power steering pump, you just loosen this here so that this can swivel downwards. The normal position is farther up here, you know, where it's more level. That'll loosen it a little bit. You may need to loosen that bolt a little too so it'll move. And the tension pulley is down there. I've replaced mine. You can see above it that thread here. So when you loosen this, you can slide this to the right or left. Currently it's all the way to the left, but this is a 14 mil, and that does the trick. So just do one last check over. It's always a good idea to do this. Never want to rush and crank it up, start driving it, and then you realize something's loose, or you know, you left something in there. I just did mine. Saw that this is loose, so just double check, and we're about to fire it up here for the first time and see how it is. Alright, moment of truth. Cranking it up for the first time, let's see. Feels a little more peppy already, just hitting the gas pedal here. I can kind of hear the air moving whereas before I couldn't. You know, it was just felt like it was stopped up or something. But now it feels like it can breathe. Take it on a test drive and see how it feels. A little more pep. You know, still slow, but can tell a difference for sure. Just pulled into the driveway and it's idling pretty high, but the computer is supposed to take a little bit to figure things out, so it should settle down. But if it stays this high, there's maybe some other kind of issue that I don't know about, because I'm usually at around 1200. Okay, I'm gonna try for the second start and see how it idles. I've had some starting issues with this too, where it would start second or even third try. So it might have been a combination of everything: the throttle body being dirty, the PCV valve being clogged up, and desmogging. Could have been a little everything. We'll keep driving it and see how it does, but so far so good. I like it. Looks like it's idling a little lower on this start, but we'll keep an eye on that. Of course, I haven't had this Land Cruiser for long, and I'll keep going through everything and posting some more videos to hopefully help all of you out a little bit. Thank you. So basically, I'm not one to film myself. That's not normally how I do things. I just want to show y'all what I'm doing and try to save you time, because my time's not being saved, I can tell you that, but I hope I'm saving your time. I hope this video helps, and I'll see y'all on the next one. Also, I want to give a shout out to Green Meadows Automotive. It's my local shop here in Wilmington. Love the hat, and they take really good care of me. They've done some work on this Land Cruiser, and I couldn't be more thankful to have a reliable shop in town, because as you know, it's harder and harder to find a trustworthy, reliable shop.